conversation once with Ivan. Ivan is one of these 6 Medjugorje visionaries. Okay? And for those who don't know, for decades now, 30, 40 years, there's been alleged apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Medjugorje, Yugoslavia. How many have heard of that? Please raise your hand. I'm curious. Okay, more don't. That surprises me. But Medjugorje, Yugoslavia is very famous now. Millions of people go there every year as a pilgrimage site that the Blessed Virgin Mary is greeting people at. And one of the 6 visionaries, Ivan, came to Minnesota some years back. And when I was in St. Michael, Minnesota, I had him there. He came to speak, and the church was jammed. It was, 15,000, 2,000 people there. But I had a lunch with him, and I asked him some questions. I was curious as to what he thought about different scenarios in the Blessed Virgin Mary and what he knew theologically. I'm a trained priest, so I'm asking him theological questions. And I said, well, listen, some people want to have another dogma Mary called the co-redemptrix or mediatrix. What do you think about that? He says, I don't know. He doesn't know about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was a theological question I asked him. You see, I was testing him a little bit. Then I said to him, well, what do you think about like children die or babies who are aborted and they're not yet baptized? What do you think about that? And he said, he had a translator from Croatian and English, and he said, well, those babies, he said, are like angels. And I said, they're like angels, huh? And I thought to myself, well, human beings are a very different nature from angels. Angels are pure spirits, and human beings are a composite, material and spiritual together. So I thought, how can you tell me that these little babies or these aborted children are like angels? And then he looked at me and said, your problem. Your problem. Like suddenly he knew English. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to test him because, in fact, he and the 5 other children with him, they were tested by so many people, psychologists and doctors and police and everybody. So I knew he would be a little defensive. I thought, well, I'm not going to test him. Today's gospel, Jesus says that the people who die are like angels in heaven. Reminded me of that story. How can you say that people are like angels in heaven? We are composite nature, body and soul. Well, for a time being, according to our tradition, the teaching of the Scriptures, when we die, our souls and bodies separate, and our soul goes on an enduring journey, and the body decomposes. And for a time, we are a soul held by God in existence without a body. When do we get that body? Who knows? When do we get our body back? When you die, your body decomposes. When do you get it back? We all profess in the creed, right? I believe in the resurrection of the body. That comes at the end of human history when Jesus comes a second time. That's when everybody's getting their body. Something of our body will be resurrected. I said at the beginning of Mass that in Greek, anastasis means to stand up. You know, for many centuries in Christian tradition, people were buried in such a way that their feet were to the east, their head to the west, on their back. Because why? Because the sun comes from the east. The sun is the rising of the sun. Jesus is the light of the world. When he comes again, everyone's going to rise and face east to the resurrection of Jesus. Now, it doesn't happen in all graveyards because of geography, but that was a very early tradition in the church. And so maybe for a while our souls are up there like angels, but maybe we're still like angels after that too, and now we can go through walls and buildings without having to open doors. And maybe we can move places by the speed of thought in heaven. Maybe there's a lot of things like angels we will be. In our own time, that gives us courage now. And we need it, because the world is not very pleasant, is it? I mean, do you feel I go on the news and it's a dark world of violence and all sorts of depressing things. In Italy today, they had another tornado. Now they had 2 earthquakes in the last 2 months, and now they got a tornado in Rome demolishing some houses. And I think to myself, I'm talking out loud with you now, this is a priest talking out loud saying to you, I want to see God's voice in that somehow, and I want to respond. Is God saying, through these natural phenomenon, wake up, start praying, give your life to Jesus, love with all your hearts, make your life a sacrifice? I think God is. Someone sent me an email today, a brother priest, and it came from Gloria TV. You can go look it up. I know you're all savvy. You can go look that up, Gloria TV. And what it was above the city of Jerusalem. There's this camera and this recording, maybe it's just a camera, looking up into the sky, and these clouds are sort of in a circle, and it sounds like a trumpet blast coming from the sky. And they can't explain it. At least nobody has that I've seen. Just happened, Gloria TV. You can go on it tonight, okay? You can type in trumpet sound from heaven. What does it mean? It's kind of fascinating. What does it mean that Blessed Virgin Mary may be appearing in Medjugorje to 6 individuals, calling for repentance and prayer and peace? In these last weeks of the Church's liturgical year, we have a lot of readings about the end times. And today's readings are about martyrdom. A woman and her 7 sons are being martyred in the first reading, and about the resurrection in the gospel. That's end times kind of stuff. If Jesus came in the next half an hour, would you and I be ready? The Lord's inviting us to ask that question.